everyone, it's Annette Green here. It is week 9 of 2025. In fact, week 9 just ended, and I do a craft or craft related video every week in the year of 2025. So it's the end of the month, or it was, so I always do a planner page in my weekly memory keeping planner. If you're new here, I do a single page in this full-size planner from Elizabeth Craft Designs. This one in particular looks like this, but there are other choices. It is a 6-ring binder, and all the dies from Elizabeth Craft Designs are made to fit in this planner and the smaller one called the Sidekick. So I like to work in the bigger one for my memory keeping. It's basically my scrapbook, and every week, like I said, it's a quick little page. So I'm going to make a page today, and I'm going to show you some pages that I did previously. Last time I did a planner page was at the end of January because it was the end of the month, and I created this fun page. Basically, I was busy doing work stuff I couldn't show you yet, but I was also doing some watercoloring for relaxation. So if you want to go back and check out that video, I do talk about the class itself that I took online, what products were used here, and I put in my little photos, and then I showed you how to make this little tuck spot underneath that top photo. And then we would move into February here. So this is what I call a dashboard page, and that just kicks off the month with a pretty page using all kinds of dies and stamps and papers from Elizabeth Craft Designs, and mainly mine. Now this is from Ester Glass, but everything else is from my collections. So the first 6 and 7, first 2 weeks in February, we went to Florida. So I had extra pages and photos to get into the space. So I just went ahead and put in one of these little half-page protectors to do this one. This one has a little flap. These flaps are available from Elizabeth Craft Designs. Just gives you a little more space for your journaling or more photos. So I've attached it right to that pocket page. Used some fun dies from Yosette with Elizabeth Craft Designs. This one is retired. This one is still available. Very, very fun. And so that's how my pages look. Did a little collage cluster photo. This is all one photo, so I made this all in Photoshop Elements, which I have been working with for a long time. So that's my whole Florida trip. And then the week before last, so this one will be week 9, so week 8 was just a simple page about meeting up with my Florida friend Lisa Serrato, who was up this way visiting. So she called on me and we met up at a coffee shop, and then a hike and a favorite lunch spot. Just things I did this week, little arrows to kind of call out what happened, some stamping and fussy cutting in the background. So here we are in March. So week 9 is sort of an overlap of the last week of February and the first part of March. So I'm going to work on the back side of my March dashboard page. Okay, so one of the first things I do is I look at the page, because all that's in my planner right now are just the dashboards. So I could cover this with paper. What I would do first, though, is I'd look at my photos and see, do I have to cover this with paper? Is this a good color for my photos? So let me show you that. Okay, and I'm going to put my planner page right here. I've got my laptop right here. I've uploaded the photos from the week that I have picked from my phone into Photoshop Elements. Just so you can see a little bit better, these are my photos that I have picked. And so if you look at this without any retouching yet, and then you look at this color here, it's pretty good. I mean, our skin tone is almost the same color as that. So I may tone that down a little bit, but basically you can see, I'm going to crop that one really tight so it's not so far away. And see the brown grass of winter? That's going to work well. Now some flowers and a little bit of color. So I think they're going to work with this background page, but I do feel like, even though the paper is a little textured, this is the back side of this paper in my beautiful Bounty collection, I want to do a little more to that to make that a little more interesting and not so kind of plain. The thing to keep in mind is, you know, that was a lot of photos. I'm not sure of my layout at all at this point, so I don't want to work too hard, like doing all this elaborate background, because it's probably going to get mostly covered up. So I feel like we just want a little something here and there. Okay, and I think I'm going to use a stencil. That's an easy and fun, quick way to add a little bit of texture and dimension to your background. And I have chosen this one of this set of 4. This is from David's Art Journal Stencil 6, I believe. I will link it below for sure. It's a set of 4, and you can see I've already been loving on a lot of these already. But this one here is like a sort of a leafy nature pattern, and since so many of my photos are, you know, outdoors, bike rides, sunshine, all that good stuff, I think I'm going to use this. Now, I want it to be really, really subtle, so I'm not going to do a bunch of green leaves. I'm going to pick a shade of ink that's just a little bit deeper than this, and just kind of work that in here and there on the page. I would recommend don't do it right to the page. Let's test out a couple of things first. So let's get my little rubbery mat here. It's a nice grippy mat and a scrap. And I picked 2 different colors just to start to see what I think that I'm going to like. And that is Wild Honey and Frayed Burlap. And I will grab a brown dauber. I'm going to put a fresh thingamabob on the bottom of that because it was really coated with a lot of vintage photo. So let's start with Frayed Burlap. Just get that inked up. This is pretty dark if you're not careful, so I'm going to go just ever so lightly and check that out. Okay, not bad, but let's try Wild Honey. And again, I'm going to change that out because I use that on like Crackling Campfire, which is really dark orangey red, as you can see by my finger. Okay, let's try that. Wild Honey. And these are just distress inks, not oxides. I don't think it matters whichever one you choose. I'm going to pick a different spot so I don't smear that Frayed Burlap into it. Okay. See, that's more of what I'm after. But just for kicks, let's try a green. The latest green that I have is Bundled Sage. So let's get a fresh dauber on there, spongy, and pick yet a different place. Now I'm trying to remember where I went. You could always wipe your stencil off before you do this. Just to kind of see what a really pale green would do. I mean, that's pretty too. But just to be different, this is typical. This is what we would expect. Green leaves. But just to be different, let's use that. Go to my page, of course. I'm going to clean and dry this one so I don't get any mix of color. Okay, this is nice and dry. Now I have learned that this gets a little bit sticky with elements, especially photos that you lay face down on here. So, and there's no photos here, but still, I'm just going to use a piece of paper at this point. And we're going to have to dry this down a little bit. Okay. I'm going to tape off my little tab real quick. Also have a little butterfly wings sticking off from my page on the other side. Okay, so you know, this is not as big as the page, so you're just going to have to move it around a little bit. But I think, honestly, I'm going to focus this around the outside edges. Maybe not fill the whole page. I don't know. If I decide I want to fill the whole page, I can always lay this back down and line it up. But I don't think so. I think it's going to be kind of cool just to go around the outside edge. Alright, and it's also shorter than the page, so you just have to kind of fake it till you make it down here. Maybe turn your stencil. Because it's so faint and light, you don't have to worry about it too much. That's the beauty of it. It's just a little subtle background treatment or frame. You see that? How I move like that? Doesn't matter. It's totally fine. Let's see. We'll do that up here. All right, you get the idea. I'll finish this up. Okay. Super subtle, very nice. I'm very happy with that so far. Now, if you didn't have stencils, of course you could use stamps and very pale colored inks and do sort of a random stamping around the outside edges. Oh, I've got a beautiful stamp coming out in my next release. I can't show you yet. That would have been perfect here, but that's all I'll say. So the next thing that I would do is I would go to my dies and stamps and just start picking things out with no firm commitment to anything. I will use my classic alphabet for my numbers for the week, and that will be week number 9 here. And I might use some other letters for other things, but I have to pull that one. I did find this older set, Planner Essentials 18. It's called Home. It's a page die. It looks like a very Dutch style building with windows and hinges and little keys, but there's a cute little bicycle, so I might use the bike. And I pulled this set, 2056 tab 5 page die with photo slider. I've used that photo slider before. It's really cool. This film strip slides in this little channel. But I also love this set because there's all these little letters. There's phrases, but there's every single letter of the alphabet is here. So it's great for spelling out small words. So I have that pulled. I also have the Planner Film Strip set, 1656. This is really old as well. But I do love these little options for photos. They look like little Instagram or, portrait kind of selfie frames. And I can tell that they cut out the inside part, the outside frame. This has a little dot to it. So they're kind of fun to work with, and they're small enough that you could get a good 3 or 4 on a page, maybe. We'll see. So I pulled that, and then I have circles, banners, and ribbons, which is my set, a bunch of nested little things and little labels and such. Sometimes I do my week numbers in those. I'm not sure if I'll do that again. And then this sort of coordinates with it. This is a stamp set, CS353, phrases and dingbats. Let's Go is a good one. Putting my week number, like I said, little like labels and things are going to work well with this new set from Esther, CS383. The minis, and I know that it's in the package and there's glare, but lots and lots of teeny tiny little words, which are great to put next to photos. And lastly, I pulled Happy because I think I might use that Happy. This is the Happy stamp set. This was one of my first releases, so hopefully this is still available. Obviously, I will link it below, and it's been well loved, as you can see. But we have some ferns. We have some great phrases here that I use so often. Dictionary, and then, like I said, the word happy. But this is also a great little frame for journaling, or this. Like I said, don't know for sure who's going to make the cut on that. I just pull things out. That's part of my process. I'm going to try to do this with my laptop tilted back like this, so I don't have to pick up the camera by hand. But now is the time where I start to, and this might be the hardest part for people, is how do you know which photos to use? You can't fit them all. How do you determine what you're going to cut or what you're going to use? So I just kind of take a quick peek, right? You've seen these before. And I decide, of course, and do I have any more? No, just those 6 photos. This is definitely our focal point photo, wouldn't you say? A picture of Paul and I. I was actually on the bike, took a selfie while we were rolling, which is not totally safe, but we were very careful. So that will be definitely the showcase photo. So we definitely want that one. And the rest of these photos, it's kind of easy to make them smaller because they're not like, they're just little accent photos. This Unity Park sign, colorful, that would be nice, and it could be nice and big across the bottom of the page because of the color. And we don't need all the rest of this in the photo, so that's something. This is just a pretty picture. That might fit into one of these frames, possibly. We'll see. And then the rest of these are just little accent things. Like this is a mural on the side of a building. I'm not sure if that's going to make the cut, honestly. And this little sign, call out before passing, I literally would cut this out, like fussy cut out the sign and just use it as a small accent if I'm going to use it at all. So that's kind of how I start thinking about it. And so, of course, like I said, that's going to be my main photo. I think I definitely want Unity Park. And part of that is this new tower that they're putting in at Unity Park. like an observation tower. It's not complete by any means, but it's kind of fun to watch it come together. Okay, so I need to do a little bit of thinking and sizing, and I will show you how I do that when I come back. Okay, I did pull one more die out because now that I've made some thoughts on eliminating some of those photos and what's going to be small and what's going to be large, I don't know if this is still available. If it is, I will link it. Sidekick Essentials 1. So Sidekick, of course, is the smaller size planner. You can see the difference in the page sizes, right? But of course, I pull from both, even if I'm working in the big planner, because there's so many elements in these sets that you can use for both. So I saw right away this larger picture frame. There's another one from a different set that has the word photo cut out of here, but I want this one so I have my own options. And so I think these two are going to work well. This will be for my big main image of Paul and then this will be for the smaller one. So I pulled that one. I think that's what I'm going to do there. So determining my photo sizes, I've grabbed that die, I've grabbed a ruler, and I see the cut line in there, so I'm going to make my photo a little bit smaller so I have a little bit of a mat. So I'm just going to go in here and measure and write down the measure on a piece of paper. This with every single planner page that I make. So just a little bit. I know it's a weird measure, but 2 7/16. You could do 3/8 if you're more comfortable, but I know that I can plug that number in Photoshop Elements and get that size exactly how I want it. So it's really 2 7/16 square, and I put Paul and P and A, Paul and Annette. Okay, and then I would do the same with this one. And my other photos I think are not going to have any frames, but this one is going to be 1 3/8, and I'm going to assume that that's square, but you never know, so I'm going to check it. Yeah, 1 3/8 square, and that will be for whatever photo I pick. Probably the one with the bikes and the flowers one. Okay, for my Unity Park photo, I don't know if I want it super ginormous, my Unity sign, so I'm going to say 3 inches wide by whatever for Unity. And then I think those other few are going to be fine. I'm not going to take any measurements for. Okay, so I know that a lot of you may not know how to use Photoshop Elements. And that's okay, and you use the selfie printer. I will say that Esther Gloss just did a wonderful video showing you some options to using the Canon selfie printer. I think she has a little sprocket, HP sprocket, and she had another printer, like a bigger Epson, that did a lot more things, and she made these great little like test prints to make it easier for you to, you know, use the pre-formatted sizes that those programs and those printers use to pick your photos quickly. You know, so there might not be one that's 2 7/16 square. In fact, there most definitely wouldn't be, I'm sure. And it would be very difficult to figure out and force your photo to be that size in those types of printers. But you might find one that's 2.5. That's pretty close. So, and you can always cut it and crop it after to make it a little bit smaller to this size. So that's just something to think about. I'll link to her video if I remember to do so. I will try to for you so you can check that out. I thought that was really a very cool tip. But in Photoshop Elements, I basically pull up an 8.5 by 11 page, and I start cropping my photos and pulling them onto that main page. You know, I have a video quite old of how I actually do it if you want to see it, so I'll link to that. I'm not really going to do that today, but just know that that video is out there. Okay, and just to kind of show you, this is my 8.5 by 11 page. Just going to use a little bit of the sheet of paper so I can continue to use the other portion at a later date, but I did find that my photo of the sign of the Swamp Rabbit Trail had some graffiti on it, so I found this really cute image of the metal He's sort of rusty now, but it's a swamp rabbit like sculpture. It's huge on the trail right near Unity Park. So I printed that out, or I grabbed that from the internet, took away the background they had, and I put my own circle around it here just to kind of match some colors in here and also some blues. But I also left it separate here just in case I decide I don't like it in the circle. So I'm going to print this out now and I'll be right back. Okay, the next step for me is to get all my elements. So I needed to decide on colors, of course, for my background page. So I have chosen, this is from Beautiful Bounty, this paper back here. And you can see that the inside of that die cut is a square. So I used black for that, put the photo on the black, and then put it on the die cut photo frame. Put a bunch of double-sided adhesive on the back. So there's that photo. Same with this one. I did eliminate that outer border that goes with this one. For now, I don't think I need it, and I want them to be similar, and I don't want to add black around this one. So I'm not going to use that part of that die. And so I have these elements put together because now is the time where I want to move these around on my page and get a design idea going. So you see my little circle of my swamp rabbit and my Unity Park sign. This is the border paper from Beautiful Bounty, but it's a pretty blue on the other side. Use the same blue for my 9 and did the, you know, that one set, circles, banners, and ribbons. I did a double circle bit there. So that's ready. And then one more element is my journaling. And so I've picked that same blue, stamped that frame I showed you at the very beginning. I'm going to cut that out, but instead of trying to write on this darker blue color, I just did a little second generation stamping after doing this onto some more neutral, which is that same paper. And very, very faint, because all I'm going to do now is take my blade, I'm going to go in there and cut out that inside part and glue it to this one. Okay. Got that ready. I'm going to ink those edges because I've been doing that to the other pieces. And we'll do that to this blue one as well. I'm back to vintage photo for inking here. Okay, and so all I have to do is get this in here. Now, if you are not comfortable getting that all ready and then doing your journaling, you maybe want to do your journaling here first before you glue it here, just in case you make a mistake. But I am going to have a lot of faith in myself today. And you could always cover it if you already have it glued down and you mess up. You could just cut another one and put it right over the top. I have certainly done that myself. Okay, now we have all our elements, and so this is where I would start to play around with all the pieces. Okay, and this is just a base plan. Like, there may be more things coming in, you know me. All right, so I do want my big focal photo to be up there, I think, and so maybe that will go there. And I think Unity may go down here. I was kind of thinking it'd be cute to have the bike on top of that, kind of overlapping that photo. I've got my 9 and my swamp rabbit, which I thought I'd put down here this time. Maybe. Don't know yet. It might be too much black right there. This is why we do this, just to kind of check it and see what we like. That might be too much black down in one spot, so maybe we'll move this up here. But you get the idea. This is what I do. And this, you say, oh, she doesn't have room for that at all, does she? But the plan has always been, in my mind, that this will get tucked underneath, like either coming out from over here, which looks nice, but then kind of interrupts our bicycle situation, or comes out from under here. And we just see a little. So that might look a little funny with all that same color right there. So I do kind of like that better. So I'm going to play around with it, see what I come up with, what I like. I still want to do, I think, some hole reinforcements on here. Definitely want to put some kind of words with these photos. So I just need to play a little bit more here and I will come back. All right, now I'm to the point where I think I like my layout. It's a little bit, wonky right now. It's just laying there loose, but this is kind of what I'm thinking. And I want to put the word ride here and enjoy here. And so I have die cut those out of that set I showed you earlier. I want to make sure enjoy fits. And I don't mind the blue, but I feel like it needs a little bit of something to help make that pop. And this is just one of those things, like you could do this and stop there. It looks great. But if you want to go that extra step, and it is tedious, but I do like to cut out the, like a drop shadow, basically. So I cut out another set of all those little letters, and then I will glue each one so it is slightly offset, the black one back there, and that will just make a huge difference on the page and make it really pop. So I'm going to take a moment, it's going to take a while to get all those together and get this element, all these elements down on my page, do my journaling, add some whole reinforcements, and I will be back. And as I'm gluing this down, I'm thinking a helpful tip might be, and this is what I did over here on my iPad. I'm looking. I took a picture of it when I had it laid out how I liked it. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I get an idea and I'm all set, and then I start picking everything up to glue it back down, and I can't quite get it to work how I liked it before. So I just take a quick picture and I refer to it as I put things back on the page. All right, I have decided on these very basic little circles here from the Reinforcement Variety Pack number 1. I've just layered the 2 different colors, coordinating with what we've got going on. And as I finish up the page, I will tell you that I didn't use that little, the minis stamp set. I didn't use it after all. You certainly could type little stamp little words from that set around your photos, add little tabs. But I'm pretty satisfied with how this has turned out. I hope that you found some helpful tips along the way. And next week I'll be back with a new video and share some fun tips and ideas for you. And as always, if you have ideas, things that you'd really like to see, I am taking requests, and little by little I'm working through that list. But here we go. This is how it finished up. Very pleased. I'm going to get that into my planner. And let's see, that's March. Yeah, so that goes there. And there we have it. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next week in the next crafty video.